Hey, what's up, Raider Nation? My name is Anthony Galavis, and hope everybody had a great Tuesday. I wasn't planning on coming on today, but given the news today by NFL insider Tom Pelissero about Maxx Crosby, I just felt that, well, better come on here and give my thoughts on the whole, on everything about Maxx Crosby. Today, Tom Pelissero came out with a report around 5:32 Pacific time that the Raiders met with Maxx Crosby today to let him know that they aren't shopping him and won't trade him. Sources tell him and Jane Slater. While other teams are interested, the Raiders aren't interested in moving their best player, and Crosby wants to stay in Vegas. And Pelissero continued with his report saying nobody else wants to win more than Maxx Crosby, and he wants to deal with the Raiders despite various rumors with the trade deadline 2 weeks away. The face of the franchise isn't leaving Las Vegas. Well, folks, there you have it. Maxx Crosby wants to stay in Vegas, and I can't blame him because I feel like Crosby wants to see the turnaround happen while he's there. And he believes in the regime that's there right now in General Managers John Spytek and head coach Pete Carroll. Despite the record 2-5, he still sees potential in the Raiders. Despite the glaring needs on both sides of the ball, I think Maxx Crosby might have told him today, like, look, this is what I want. And I see a future here with the Raiders. I can see a turnaround happening. And so he's putting his trust in this regime to make that happen. And I feel like John Spytek needs to make that happen with the best player on the team, Maxx Crosby, who's a force, who's showing day in and day out he could be a difference maker, or some guy who could go after the quarterback and make plays. And he's shown that throughout his career with the Raiders. Because the thing about Maxx Crosby is, you go back to the trade in trying to think, was it 17 when the Raiders or whatever it was traded away Khalil Mack? I think that was a dumb trade to begin with. You don't trade your best player at all. You keep your best player, defensive player on the roster and try to make him happy. And instead, John Gruden felt that he made the call to trade away Khalil Mack to the Chicago Bears. And so I think the Raiders probably learned a lesson from that. But then again, that's a different regime. This is a new regime. But again, you can't trade your best player at all. Khalil Mack, he was shipped off, and he made a difference for the Chicago Bears. And I'm sure Raider fans, I read a lot of your messages, not just mine but others, about how you guys are, like, Maxx Crosby doesn't deserve this. He should be traded to a team that's, going to be playoff bound, blah, blah, blah. And I get it. I totally get it because you guys are frustrated. But not more than frustrated than Maxx Crosby. And I'm sure he shared his sentiments with the regime today with Spytek and Carroll about how the season's going right now. And it's very unfortunate as far as the record-wise, 2-5. Is there time for the Raiders to turn around? Yes. But can they do it? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if this bye week will serve them a purpose of turning this thing around, starting with the Jaguars. So, Maxx Crosby is staying with the Raiders. That's good news for the Raiders and Raider Nation. So you can keep your 98 jerseys, your signed jerseys by Maxx Crosby. Think that, I really believe that he wants to stay in Vegas. You just turn around and be one of the players that say, I helped make that happen. We're in the playoffs because, hard work and determination. Yeah, it took a lot of hard work. But I could see that happening. Kind of like, when back in 2016, when the Raiders made that decent run until Derek Carr got hurt, and 2021 when the Raiders made the playoffs. So Maxx Crosby had a taste of the playoffs in 2021, but he wants more. And so I think his voice is going to help the Raiders in the long run, given that he wants to stay in Vegas and play for the Raiders, despite the rumored Dallas Cowboys showing interest in calling the Raiders to gauge interest to see if the Raiders would trade him. And so it doesn't look like that's going to happen. So good news for Raider fans. I believe Maxx Crosby is going to give it his all for the Raiders. Though that he's kind of a little nicked up here, but the bye week could have come at the right time. So here we are, and the Raiders got some clarity of where they're going to go. But there's one question remained about Jacoby Myers, but that's for another day to talk about. But Maxx Crosby for now, well, not just for now. It looks like for long term, we'll stay with the Raiders. Good news for Raider fans out there, and especially John Smitek and Pete Carroll. That was up to them to turn this thing around. And it's the Raiders when Raiders are good, that's good for the NFL, right? So we'll see what happens, but like I said, bit of good news for Raider fans out there tonight. So, all right, guys, that's all I have to say. Come back tomorrow after the press conference. Pete Carroll will talk. I'm sure he'll touch more about what it means to have Maxx Crosby on the roster. So, all right, guys, talk later.